What's up, Sushi Squad? We back in some more Trove Tune Up, and today we're gonna be talking about the patch notes. I know I promised you guys I was gonna end up doing a pack review for the Bard stuff. Unfortunately, we'll have to push that. I'm sorry, guys, but I completely forgot that we actually have to do patch notes as a priority, which means we'll kind of end up getting into it. But if you want more details, you can stay tuned and I'll end up having that video come out sometime soon. It's okay. There's no major rush for anything. It's not like these packs are going away or anything like that. I know that a lot of you guys are asking, though, about the Bard. How's the Bard? How's the Bard? And stuff like that. Well, honestly, I already have plenty of videos that technically cover the Bard, even though it was on the test server. Just because, I mean, the Bard changed kind of last minute. And ended up becoming a lot more viable. But the point is that I have plenty of videos technically already on the Bard. It's just now it's on the live server, so now we can kind of appropriate it, you know? But anyways, we're going to get into the patch notes. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can read through it for yourselves if you want. But if you are new to Trove, I don't know how many of you are even new to Trove. I know a lot of you are just returning players. But if you are new, you can use that sign up link down in the description. And then basically what that means is anytime you end up purchasing anything out of the shop, I make a percentage of that sale. It's an awesome way you can help me out by just buying things in the game. Now, if you guys want just a quick pack review, the Bard pack itself is going to be 3,000 credits. That's basically the free-to-play option of getting this guy. Or if you end up buying 3,000 credits out of the cash shop, it's going to be 20 bucks. So that's actually a pretty good deal. Or there's the big boy pack, which is going to be like $75. This is all US prices, by the way, which means it was pretty expensive for me, the little old Canadian that I am. But the point is that what you get out of these packs is this one, you get 2 costumes in the Bard and the Wings and a couple allies. This one, you get like a bunch of extra costumes, a mount, and some credits. Because there's actually going to end up being some new costumes in the style section, which we already just had a video reviewing all of those. So, I mean, it was on the test server, but yeah. The point is, though, that all of the items that you get out of these Bard packs technically are craftable and are available free to play. It's just, is it worth it to get it free to play rather than just buying the pack? I don't know. It entirely is up to you and your amount of grind time. So to craft the class itself, you can see the Bard is extremely expensive. Not only does it cost all these bundles of resources, which is absolutely crazy, but it also costs Bardium, which is a new resource that is only obtained rarely in the tier 5 of Geode Caves. Bardium is tradable, which is cool. But you can see it's, oh, I mean, yeah, no, that's pretty expensive considering that you need literally thousands of it. So you can end up getting a lot of flux from Bardium right now if you can actually handle the Geode Caves. What I would kind of recommend is it's probably more cost effective right now while Bardium is still fresh to go grind Bardium, sell it to players, and then buy credit pouches so that you can end up buying the pack anyways. Because with the amount of Bardium that it's going to cost you to craft the class, also crafting these costumes, allies, and wings, is going to be cheaper flux wise to just end up getting the credit pouches. Even though the fact is that credit pouches are extremely expensive right now, the price might slowly intervene and be cheaper down the line to just buy the Bardium. But as far as crafting the class is concerned, it's still extremely time gated because of the fact that it costs sentient shards. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents towards it. Oh, and then, of course, before we end up getting into the details about the Bard itself, I know so many of you have probably already asked in the comments, when is the Bard coming out for console? I don't know. Nobody knows, okay? Even the fact that we ended up getting a Bard release date was kind of an accident. Because what ended up happening is the devs ended up having a live stream, and basically one of the devs slipped up and gave us the Bard release date. And then apparently like the other dev that was with him ended up scolding him and saying like, oh, you weren't supposed to give the release date out, buddy, or something like that, which doesn't make sense because this was literally like last week they ended up leaking the release date, which was kind of silly when you think about it. But the point is that they haven't given us a release date for the console release. They do specifically mention that all this stuff is PC specific. They do say, though, console players, don't worry, these updates will be coming to you too. Obviously they're coming to consoles as well, but we don't know when. Now, if I had to guess, you guys on console don't even have the Chloromancer update, like the Chloromancer rework, so I'm guessing they're just going to bundle the Chloromancer rework with the Bard update all at once. And I would say you're probably looking at within 2 months. I would say definitely within 2 months. If it goes further than that, I mean, that'd be pretty crazy. But the point is that we know Trove is coming out on the Nintendo Switch sometime soon. We don't have a release date for it other than summer of this year, which makes me suspect to think that, I've talked about this many times, they're going to try and get the Bard update ready for console probably around the time that it launches on Nintendo Switch. If not, have it to you guys on Xbox and PlayStation before, and then just have the update ready to go just as the first, you know, when Trove launches on Switch, it'll just already have all of this stuff. Possibly, I don't know. But anyways, going into the actual patch notes themselves, there's a lot of different posts that you can end up reading up on and stuff, but most of all, you know, the biggest chunk here is talking about the Bard itself. Now, I already have a video that kind of highlights the Bard. In fact, in my video talking about the Bard's release, I kind of went into more detail of how you actually handle the Bard and how his abilities work and stuff like that. So we'll kind of skim over those today so that we don't have to spend 20 minutes explaining it, because this guy is the most complex character in the entire game. It's not like it's like, it sounds more intimidating than it is, okay? And just as far as Trove is concerned, it's difficult to explain how it works, but once you understand how the Bard works, it's easy peasy, okay? But basically, you know, there's going to end up being his plethora of different abilities, and they all end up having very, very specific functions. Generally, though, what you're going to be doing in terms of just normal grinding is you're trying to keep one of his ults going at all times, which is going to end up giving you a damage boost combined with a movement speed boost, but we'll get into that in a bit. So anyways, there's the passive ability. So melody is used for the Bard's abilities and it's generated from the Bard song buff. Gaining melody rotates what ultimate the Bard has access to. Having high melody will also increase the Bard's basic attack damage, and melody is displayed on the Bard song buff bar. So if you guys are on PC, you use your ult and you don't see this at the bottom, it means you have a mod, like a UI mod that's conflicting. So you just gotta disable it. But just to kind of give it a short summary, this bar right here is the melody. So you basically have a trigger and an action for this guy's ult. He's actually got 4 different ultimate abilities technically, which is why I say he sounds so complicated. But basically the purple ultimate ability is going to start the timer. And then the melody that they're mentioning here is literally these little cubes right here. Let's call them stacks, okay? Because that's basically what they are. And then by performing the action that you see within the cube right here or on top of the Bard, you're going to slowly build up more stacks. And for each different stack, you're going to end up noticing a different color, which is going to represent a different ultimate ability, so on and so forth. And then if you completely run out of your timer, you're going to end up losing all of the stacks. So the point is that the epic riff, the one that ends up giving the timer, it is going to periodically be in one of these stacks here and there. Like you basically build stacks, cast this again so that you can keep your timer going and keep your buff going, right? So that's pretty much how he ends up working as a quick summary. So then there's the basic attack, which deals 250 magic damage, because everybody always asks about whether this guy's physical damage or magic damage. It's magic damage. It does use a fist weapon, but the weird thing is that if you literally take your fist off of your Vanguard, like when you have a fist equipped to your Vanguard, it's going to be physical damage. When you have your fist equipped to your Bard, it's going to be magic damage. It just automatically switches, which is absolutely asinine. I still think that this, above all else, just goes to show that there is no point in having both a physical and magic damage stat. Trove needs to get with the times, and it needs to just join those both into one overall attack damage, because people are so confused. I even saw a couple of you guys mentioning in chat yesterday when I was streaming that you got completely screwed because you thought because the Bard uses the fist weapon that it was going to be physical based, and so you got everything prepared for a physical character and then found out, whoops, it's magic. Which, I mean, I don't blame you, dude. Like, that's a thing. It's so weird and confusing. But anyways, the basic attack is again to 250% of your magic damage. When the Bard has 3 melody or 3 stacks, the attack is going to be 450%. This is just your basic attack. And then when you have 7 melody, you're going to do 700% attack damage. So you can see right here, that's actually literally just when the cubes get bigger, your damage gets bigger. So you can see there's these 2 cubes, and then this is the third right here. So right here, anything from in this category, you're going to do 450% damage. And then as soon as you get to these big boy cubes over here, you're doing 700% damage with your basic attack, okay? So it is a significant damage increase, which is why late game, you don't need to do this for anything mid to early game, honestly. It's only really when you get to the end game. Your basic goal is to keep 7 stacks at all times and keep your timer running at all times. But then there's also the different buffs that you get from your ultimate ability. So you can see the green ultimate ability is going to give us a movement speed buff. And basically everybody around me, I just tagged them with the movement speed buff, right? So even though the ultimate is going to slowly go away and dissipate, the ult itself, the effect, the buff, is still affected in the top left. You can see we've still got this tiny little green icon with a timer going down on it. That's because the ult buff is going to last for 30 seconds, which means that everyone is still benefiting from that movement speed buff. There's another ultimate that ends up giving you a lifesteal buff, which sucks. It's absolutely useless. And then there's going to end up being the third buff, which is, or third buff, fourth ultimate. I know this kind of sounds weird, which is going to give you a damage buff. And that kind of is what you're going to be using. You're going to try to keep your damage buff and your movement speed buff at all times, while just keeping your epic riff going, so that you end up having, you know, having your ult going and having your stacks going. Again, it sounds more complicated than it actually is. So anyways, getting into his other abilities, his right click does give you vulnerability frames, as you can see, for a short while. There is a little bit of a cooldown on it, so whatever. It doesn't really do as much damage as you would think. It's most of all just to keep you alive. Your number one, it can be good for, I don't know, for the buff aspect of it, but basically you throw down your number one. That doesn't do anything. It doesn't do damage or anything, so it's kind of a waste of attack animation. But if you press it again, bong, it explodes and ends up dealing damage. However, if you have one of these down and then you end up casting your buff, it's basically going to end up having the buff go around it and around yourself. So it's kind of like a nice way that you could end up buffing a wider radius, but ultimately is not that great an ability. So then they go into more detail about all the different buff abilities, which, again, you guys can read through them if you want. The class gem ability is going to change. Your basic attack is not going to end up having this much range. That's what the class gem does, is it gives you a lot more range. So basically, before you have the class gem, you basically can only attack just in front of yourself. So it's kind of like you're a melee character. Whereas now we have a lot more range of our attack, but it's still coded as a melee attack, which is fantastic because it means we're not dealing with hit detection issues like we do with so many other characters. The other effect of the class gem is that it's going to end up making your buffs are going to end up being a lot stronger. So your movement speed aura is going to end up giving you, what is it? Like you end up getting movement speed by 40%, so it's going to buff your movement speed by 40% instead of 25%, so it's significant, it's worth doing. And then there's going to end up being the battle explosion, deals more magic damage to nearby enemies, blah blah blah. It basically just makes it so that your ults are a lot stronger. Then there's also the subclass ability, which of course is if you're not actually using the bard, you would be able to use the subclass ability of the bard, which gives you more crit damage. The crit damage itself is based off of, I think that's the part that's based off of your level on the character, whereas the personal song is what's based off of the power rank, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, it's pretty bad. Subclass ability, sing yourself a little song when you head into battle. When attacking, you gain Jubilant, Peaceful, and Battle Song buffs in that order, periodically over and over. Each lasts for 3 seconds with a 15-second cooldown and increase effectiveness with subclasses level, which is kind of not really that good. Okay, so I guess I reversed that around. I guess the power rank is affecting the crit damage. No, it affects this one, so I think they messed that up. Because the knight, for example, the subclass ability here with the flask, that's dependent on the level of the character, whereas the power rank affects the mount movement speed. So I think they ended up messing that up, unless I read that wrong. But either way, that pretty much covers the bard. Hopefully you ended up finding that helpful enough. But as far as just a quick little review of the bard, obviously I'll have some other videos that'll highlight him in more detail. But yeah, you can definitely main the Bard. He's very, very viable for speed farming, most definitely, and can end up being okay in terms of a boss killer. Now, if you're wondering whether or not he's going to compete with, like, you know, Chloromancer, for example, after the rework, no, Chloromancer is still way stronger, which is good, because I wouldn't want the Bard to end up being an end-all class that is overall best at every category. But Bard is definitely top 5 in terms of speed farming, and probably top 5 in terms of damage if you have all your stacks going and everything like that. Obviously, you're limited by the fact that the only thing that really does mass amounts of damage on this guy is your basic attack when you end up having your full stacks, but again, we'll have other videos that'll highlight all that stuff. So anyways, moving on. There's going to end up being the Smoky Delves. So that's like a new area that can show up in public and private delves. It also has a new mount, apparently. Good luck. I'm assuming it's tradable, but whatever. Then they also talk about the store updates. So technically, there's 3 different packs available. So there's going to end up being the cheaper Bard pack, the more expensive Bard pack, and then a 3rd pack, which is invisible. So if you buy the cheaper Bard pack, the 3rd pack is going to become available to you, which basically is going to be like an upgrade to the big boy pack, but at a cheaper value. So I don't know if it equals to the same amount as buying the big pack. If you buy the cheap one and then the other one, I think it's still going to end up being more of a deal if you just buy the big, more expensive pack outright. But basically, it is a upgrade to the Bard Super Pack if you ended up buying just the normal Bard pack, and gives you all of the different items. So the Sweet 16 pack also specifically says that it doesn't give you the Bard anymore and stuff like that. Let me actually show you guys real quick some of the items just to give you perspective here. So some of these new items, like these wings, this mount, and the costume that I'm rocking and stuff like that, these are all craftable for free to play down here. And you can see that the big boy Bard pack does get you all of these, which is good because you can see that these are ungodly expensive. And again, I'll have like another video that'll show all the Bard costumes and all the stuff you get out of the pack and blah, 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 blah. So you guys can stay tuned for that. But let me just say that this is, it's a pretty good value to end up getting this big pack just because of the amount of time that you would otherwise have to spend grinding all of this stuff. And I still gotta get to Bardmantologist or whatever, because that's a lot of mastery right there. So I'll work on that after. Additional changes. Added a new crafting tier, the Christology, which is exactly what we just talked about. It's kind of weird that they throw the Bard like just willy-nilly up into the Christology table for all of his costumes and stuff, which is very, very weird. I don't know why they had to push the Geode Caves of all things. Like, I don't know why they didn't push something that was, you know, fun in order to end up crafting the Bard, but I guess they really wanted to make it something really tedious and annoying to further push the agenda of, oh, but you could just spend some money and end up buying it, which, I mean, I'm not trying to dog on the fact that they have these packs, because I think that they're actually, like, this is actually very smart. This is big brain mode right here, where they actually made these packs seem more valuable than ever, just because otherwise, the method of grinding these things is just tedious as all hell. So anyways, they got a couple other things here. So Bardium is now in tier 5 of Geode Caves. The Lunar Lunatic costume for Bard has been added to the Shadowy Market for Despoiled Divinity. That's right, I still didn't buy that one either. New trophies have been added to the Pirate Captain bosses, fixed a crash, added a mod out of date warning that will show up when mods are out of date once per update. I'm assuming, I could be wrong about this, okay? But the fact that they're actually adding something that says if a mod is out of date makes me question whether or not they're slowly getting ready for mod support on console, which would be awesome, but I very much doubt it. I'm just putting my 2 cents towards why they would even bother doing something like that. Anyways, Ancient Gears should now count towards ore collection requirements in the Delves. Increased mastery for Cookie Conjurer, and well, a bunch of items and costumes ended up increasing mastery. Drop rates of stable gateways have been increased, which I've actually noticed that. As I was farming, I got a lot more gateways, which is great. Cthulhu corners will be a little more common at depth 162 and up. Who cares? Nobody farms that except for like 2% of players. Fixed an issue that would cause welcome to the hub message for characters to flicker. Some collectibles have received minor appearance improvements and changed the name of Pyro Firemancer costume or something to Pyro Fighter or whatever. They ended up just doing some small little things. Most of all, the biggest thing out of this pack or update, I should say, is going to end up being the Bard, which Hey, cool. Anyways, let me actually go over here so that I remember to end up buying this costume. That pretty much should end up covering it for you guys, though. Again, there's going to be a lot of other things that we will end up covering. Trove is more popular than ever now, just because, I mean, you can see there's so many people that are grinding up the bard and everything like that now. I'll end up, of course, doing another stream today. You guys keep asking me and hounding me. I know I'll do another stream, okay, because I got to try and get my bard to probably level 28 today. We could probably do that in maybe an hour, if not higher. I'm not really in a particular rush to get this guy to max level because I already did on the test server, and it doesn't, like, it's been such a long time since we ended up having something to do in Trove. I kind of feel like it's bittersweet, you know, like if we rush through it as quick as possible, it means that it's going to be very short-lived, and that would be really just disappointing, you know what I mean? Which, that said, I'm going to main the bard for quite some time, and I really hope that we see some future updates, you know, coming that are going to be either reworks to characters or new classes and stuff like that, because technically speaking, the bard is super duper old in terms of it was in the game's code for a very long time. Now, I don't know how much of it was completed. I'm assuming they basically built this character from the ground up, but my point is that so far Trove's future is looking, you know, brighter than ever, not only with a Switch release already being announced, which is absolutely awesome, but a new class coming, and so quickly as well. Like, it seems like it was just a week or two ago when we ended up having the bard on the test server, and now it's already out. Like, are you kidding me? That's awesome, dude. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed. Smash the like, sub for more. Buy the merch you want to support the channel. Have yourselves a fantastic day. Sign on and stay epic, gamers.